Welcome to the Youngpreneur podcast, a show for young and aspiring entrepreneurs who want to start or scale their own business. Our podcast is dedicated to helping young people find a community and resources to start and grow their businesses. Hosted by Charlotte Enever and Linda Reed Enever, our passion is seeing the future of business grow.
Hi, welcome to the Youngpreneur Society podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte Enever. Joining me on this episode of the podcast is Amara Ahmed. Amara, could you please give us a little introduction to yourself and your business?
Hi, everyone. My name's Amara. I run Precision Consulting, which is a CRO and product UX UI consulting firm. And we're essentially a behavioral psychology-based CRO firm, and we work on all businesses to optimize conversion rate based on behavioral psychology and best practices based on my own experience of being in the industry for over a decade and working across 15 different countries and different markets and health tech, e-commerce, and Q-commerce.
That's amazing. That's such an interest field for me. I haven't looked into it much, but I love the idea of it. What inspired you to start your business?
That's actually twofold. So there's two parts of it. One was the work itself. I was really driven in terms of being able to take charge of the sort of work I wanted to do. A lot of my roles have been more commercial, and my profile itself over the years, I've really been involved in all sorts of parts of the business. I started off in data, then I moved into the sales parts of the business. Then I went into product and UX UI. So I worked all across the different parts of the business, but I really connected with the product and the UX UI part, and I really enjoyed that. And I used to do a lot of mentoring with founders on platforms like Growth Mentor and stuff outside of that as well. And I felt like that's where my brain neurons fired the most, and that's where I had the most fun. But a lot of my job was like very commercial and performance and numbers driven. I am very analytical like that, so I do enjoy that, but it doesn't get the creativity flowing. And somewhere along the lines, I really wanted the product and the creativity to be a much bigger part of what I was doing. And I wanted more charge of the sort of projects I get to work on and the companies I get to work with. And so earlier last year, I thought enough of these just mentoring post work and doing projects on the weekend. About time I take the plunge, I call it go into this full time. And so then I made the switch. So that was one of the reasons, which was more about the work itself that I do. The other reason for me was more about the sort of workplace itself that I create. And that for me was very much about the sort of workplaces I had been in, the rooms I had been in. What I felt quite often is that every time I would be moving forward and end up in these boardrooms or these big decision-making rooms, I would often kind of look around and feel like I would be the only woman there. And I didn't like that. And you can work to bring other people up, but it doesn't really do enough if the entire system is not built that way. There's a lot of progress happening in terms of like how workplace cultures are evolving, but I still felt like there's only so much control you have when you're working in larger corporations, as you're moving up, even when you're in leadership positions, because it's such a big system, it's difficult to be able to create the level of change that you want to be able to do. And I wanted to create that different sort of workplace where people were able to learn the right side of being a good people leader. I didn't like the fact that service leadership was looked down upon. I thought that's the right way to succeed. I hate it when people go, it's lonely at the top. No, it's not. Just take the right people with you. So, it's so annoying when people say that stuff. So for me, it was like, okay, I just got to put my money where my mouth is and start at home. And that's the other reason I wanted to start this is I will build it from my company itself. This is the way I get to start. How do I make my organization the right place where it's a good learning experience, where people are learning how to be good people managers or having good employee experience, or it's women who are succeeding. It's a room full of women and stuff like that. Or of course, still in the growing stage, but that's the sort of vision I have for the company. And that's where I want to get it to.
That sounds amazing. It really sounds like you've paved a way for yourself and other women. I love the space that you're creating.
For me, this is the biggest motivation to kind of get this right. This is my thing to prove. As much as I love the work, this is something that I really want to be able to do, because I think it really makes a difference for the people around you.
Yeah, that is such an amazing goal. And with all these big goals and dreams, how do you maintain a work-life balance?
Oh my God. Okay. It's really funny. I feel like I've gone into a curve. Like when I first started work, there was like no such thing, because when you're young, you have so much energy and you're like, I just need to learn these things. I would be like working on weekends until 3 a.m. and everything. And then as you start progressing, you're like, okay, I need to start drawing boundaries, and you start teaching people around you, hey, this is how, work. You try to teach your manager about these are the healthy boundaries. This is when I'm going to work. This is when I'm not going to work. And you try to teach the people around you. And so I got really good at that, not working on weekends and everything. And then I switched to starting my own thing. And it was like back to day one, because when you first start, I think, especially when you start as a solo founder, there's a couple of things, right? First of all, you're running so many different things on your own. And it's such a learning curve as well, because of course there's a lot of stuff about your own domain, but there are so many other things that you're learning about and you want to succeed. And of course, you're just trying to do the most in the least amount of time. So you're just really giving it your all. And so in that, I just fully would lose weeks in the beginning. And it was a complete lack of work-life balance. And I felt like I was going back to the early 20s version of me. But then I think I realized this is how I would get stuck in the burnout loop at work as well. And I thought, if I keep doing this, then I'm not going to really be firing with all neurons. I'm not going to be getting the ideas I'm going to get. I'm not going to be able to do justice to the work. I'm actually going to end up in the same headspace that I would at my job if I keep kind of doing this. So then I actively started forcing myself to live by my calendar. So I would literally slot out exactly what I need to do and like chart out like chunks. And there would literally be just like a slot on my calendar being like TV time. And I would put like dinners with friends on like my calendar and like just lock myself to it. Just the way I would commit myself to a meeting, just so that like I really have to hold myself to it. And of course, you can't just stand up people who are waiting for you at a restaurant the same way I can't show up because like I know you're showing up, right? So I would make plans in advance so that I know that I have to show up. And I think that really helped because it would get me out. It would get me like in a different scenery. And it forced me to move away from my desk and push me to take a break. And I think it did make a difference because when I would then come back, I would come back with fresher ideas. I did at times feel like, oh my God, I'm like losing time. But honestly, I feel like it was worth it. Do I still have days where I go like work for 12 hours? Absolutely. Because I feel like there are times, like, especially in the initial stages where you have to put in the work. But I'm not going crazy anymore. I'm going out, I'm meeting people, I'm calling them home, I'm watching TV and reading a book, I'm doing the normal things again.
That's amazing. I feel like that's such a different take on time blocking because everybody goes, oh, I have to time block so I actually get stuff done. And then like procrastinating by doing something else. But also, like time blocking for stuff that needs to keep you as a person going.
Yeah. And I feel like I also forget a lot of things, right? So now I've put everything on my calendar. I'm like, eat lunch is on the calendar. Everything is just on the calendar.
Very
if
helpful.
This is what I'm going to live by, I'll just put everything on it.
I've got my 10-minute reminders. Yeah, I can prepare myself mentally.
Absolutely. Exactly. Leave for the dinner, get ready, get into the shop, everything.
I've got guinea pigs, and whenever I need to do something for those guys or buy something for them, that goes in the calendar.
Same. I've got a cat, so every time I need to go, I'm like, this is litter cleaning day. Ordering the cat food again. Oh my God. Oh, guinea pigs are so cute.
I know that I have 8 now. It's so adorable. I keep it in the calendar and I'm on top of them.
That's amazing.
What is your favorite part of running a business?
Oh my God. Okay. I think my favorite part of running a business is the fact that it's mine. It's something that I created. It's something that I get to control and build. And I'm somebody who's, I feel like, very opinionated and driven by my principles. And so now for the first time, I feel like I have so much control in terms of how I'm able to apply them and who I get to work with, how I get to work. If I see somebody and I feel, you know what, it's fine. Like I really would like to work with them. And if they're going through like a tough spot and I would just like to just kind of go all easy, it's okay. It's fine. I don't have to go through like the corporate route. That's completely fine. And if I see something and I'm like, you know what, actually, like, you don't seem like the nicest person, and I would rather say no to the money than do this, I can just do that. I don't have to go, this is business. I don't have to do that. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing. I get to do this in a way that doesn't really compromise who I am. And like, you know, what I love now, to put it simply, is like leadership principles are not something that are like put as posters on the wall. It is something I get to apply. And that's the thing I detested in every company I had been in, is it would be all over the walls and nowhere on paper. Oh my God, everywhere. They're on your diaries and planners and on the walls, and like they put it in bright colors, but where is it in action?
Exactly, yeah.
And now I get to do that. And for me, like, it's so freeing and it's so amazing. And I think that's my favorite part, even if it gets hard or even if it's not the best solution financially in the initial stages while you're like building it up, you get to build it on the right foundation. And for me, that's really important.
Yeah, it's so exciting to me that you've kept your project, like your business as your project, and it is yours. And what
Yeah.
you mentioned with applying them, because I feel like everywhere I go, I get a notebook or a pen, and it's like new people in business, leadership in business. What is leadership? Are you doing the
What is
leadership? I don't think so.
every time? And it's so funny because like they'll hire these big firms and they'll spend 8 months building out like the new leadership values. And then there's like a 6 month rollout with HR and marketing. And they're like, oh, we're doing the branding. And then you show up to work and there's like new pamphlets. And I'm like, honestly, if you just apply 2 of these, we would know about them better. You don't need to do all
Yeah.
of this.
And like you
Have
can
you thought
name it,
about
you can
that?
say that you're going to do it. But yeah, if employees see it, there's going to be like so much more benefit, because then they'll start
Exactly.
applying it too. And like it'll be reciprocated. But that's clearly what you're doing, because you're doing so great.
You can write ownership like bias and like all this driving results like all over the place. But what are you actually doing though? Like integrity is not just something you like put on the walls. Like actually showcase it. Showcase your integrity to me.
Yes, I love this about young entrepreneurs. They're really actioning that. They've got the motivation. They've seen what's wrong with just saying that you can do it and actually putting that action behind it and the movement. Yeah.
I have so much respect for Gen Z about this because I feel like they're so outspoken about this.
Yeah.
They have zero filter and they're just like, we won't take it. Peace out. Bye. They're just
Yeah.
out. Like, I feel like us as millennials, we still took our sweet time to be like, okay, we'll put in the work. And then we were like, okay, maybe this is not working. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll now take a step out. They came in and they were like, yeah, no, peace. And they just left. It's so amazing. And I find it genuinely so motivating, just brazenness with which they uphold their values for this thing in particular is they just don't care. They're like, you just simply can't do this. Sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Like the
work this way.
foundation was obviously set by millennials, but it's what you were saying with the boundaries. If you work really hard and then you set those boundaries with
Yeah.
your boss, and also setting those boundaries with yourself. And I think obviously in social media, that's been such a big thing. So Gen Z has been able to really just get into the workplace and set those boundaries immediately because they know what to expect for themselves and from themselves.
Yeah. And they actually enforce it to the point where if it's not set, they just leave. And I think it's so palsy, right? They're just like, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
And something
Bye.
will.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I'll just figure something else out. It's amazing.
It is so motivating. Speaking of motivation, how do you stay in touch with the motivation you had when you first started?
Uh, okay. I think there's a couple of reasons. I think sometimes when I get super frustrated, when you've had like really long days and or you've had like very frustrating conversations, it gets very tiring. And I think it's especially harder when you're a solo founder, because I think that's a good thing about having a co-founder is there's always kind of somebody to kind of rant it out with, right? When you're stuck with something or when you're having like a motivation crisis, there's somebody to like riff off of. And I think that's the sort of support system that's missing with solo founders. And often that's one of the key things that when you go into solo founder communities on Reddit, on Slack, on all these channels, that's the one thing that everybody's asking for is either a place to vent or a place to be like, do I keep going? What's happening? What do I do? So I think that's a main thing. But I think what happens for me is I usually like just take a step back and will just kind of close my laptop and I'd go away for a second. I deal with it the same way I deal with stuff now when I like have a very angry conversation where I'm like, I'm gonna just check out for a second and like come
Yeah.
back with it like with a clear head. Then I kind of just think about, okay, if this is frustrating, why is it frustrating? And do I have a problem with the situation or do I have a problem with the overall thing? Is the overall thing failing? Or is there a problem in this particular approach that I need to pivot? And more often than not, when you come back later and you think about it with a fresh head from this perspective, you realize that it's just a problem in that, and you just need to be flexible enough to pivot and like deal with that. And if you're able to deal with that, then it's okay. You're able to go ahead with it. And I think you just need to keep thinking about what that day is going to look like when you've hit that big win, right? And as long as you keep visualizing that and you're okay with kind of like troughs and valleys along the way, you make it through. You do need a tough skin. I think you need to be very okay with taking risks. You need to be okay with failure. You need to be okay with embarrassing yourself. You need to be okay with all of that. And then you need to be crazy optimistic, right? But you need to be like rational as well so that you don't go around doing stupid things or getting lost in like sunk cost fallacy and know when to pivot your strategies and not waste time on the wrong stuff. So you need to be optimistic about the vision. Wait, just be realistic about the strategies so that you know, like you keep trying on the stuff. And then you kind of just keep going at it. You think people have done it, we've succeeded. And when you like get really frustrated, just watch a white man and you'll realize if this idiot who doesn't know anything can do something, I can do it. Never mind. I'm okay. Let's go. Just watch the audacity and you're like, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm back in the game. Let's go.
Which is great, actually, because you left a senior role to start something entirely from scratch.
Yeah.
What did that take for you to do that?
Oh, it was scary. It was really scary. So where I come from, my background is South Asian, and we don't come from this sort of like a profile where you just leave a job without having another job, right? If you resign, the first question people ask is, okay, where are you going? And if you tell them, oh, I'm going to figure it out, they're like, that's not a real thing. How are you going to make money? What's going to happen? For them, that's not a thing we do. It's not a thing brown people do, right? So for me to even consider it was like insane. And also just in my family, like nobody's done this before. Nobody's been like, okay, I'm going to start a business, especially not like a girl. And because I've been in these roles before and I've worked across so many countries, I have such a big network. It was also just, okay, when I do this, everybody's going to know about it. So if I fail, I'm going to fail so spectacularly publicly. It's going to be embarrassing as hell. So this needs to work out. And then I was like, okay, then I guess I only have one choice, which is I got to make it work. And that was it. in my head, I was like, maybe I just channel 15-year-old Amara and listen to the Eminem song and just go, success is the only option, failure is not, and just go.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that's, so I was like, I guess for me, this is the point. If I am eventually going to go up and have a family, have kids, and that's not when I'm going to be able to take these sort of risks. And I know what sort of a life I want to have. And it's not the life where I want to be in the office 9 to 5. I want to have flexibility in terms of where I'm working from. I know I want it to be flexibility in terms of what I'm working on. I know I don't fit into this particular corp structure. I know my head works in a different weird way. So if I know that no other regular people rules apply, why would this one? So I might as well just go give it a shot.
That is amazing. Yeah. I totally get what you mean by like, there's something about being a teenager that's just absolutely insane with the motivation.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you need that playlist. You need the 15-year-old playlist. That's what you need.
Yeah. She was onto something.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned solo founders actually needing space to bounce off each other as well. But most founders fix their ads when conversions drop. Why do you believe that is almost always the wrong move?
Oh my God. So many times, like, I feel like even like when I'm on like Reddit and stuff, like there's so many people who are just like, you guys, I'm getting like such terrible CTR. I think like the traffic's off or my natives are off. It's so easy to blame the traffic or the creative. And I think that's because it's the way that we've trained ourselves, right? Where like if something isn't selling, it's probably marketing. But it doesn't work that way. When something isn't selling, you need to look at the entire funnel. It's entirely possible that there may be something wrong with the marketing, but that's very few times is that the actual reason, right? Most of the times, even in my personal experience, I don't even mean that from when I'm actually working with a client or I look at what's happening. But even as a customer, you yourself would know. You're going to look at an Instagram ad, you're going to see one shoe, you click on it, and then you end up on this giant page with 100 shoes, right? I'm sorry, I liked that shoe. Why would you not take me to that shoe?
None of them are that shoe. Yeah.
And so why would you stay? That's the shoe I wanted. I don't want to go through 100 shoes. So it's so frustrating as a customer, and nobody's looking at that. And then it's so easy to be like, oh, the customers today, they're just so fleeting, or the targeting is just so off, or these platforms, they just send the worst kind of traffic. You're not looking at what's actually happening on your platform. Most brands, they'll just create the website and then that's done. They spend time on ads, they spend time playing around with their budgets. They're actually not spending any time looking at what's actually happening on your website and fixing it. And that's the most important part, because that's where any user that you're trying to get is spending the most time, right? What do you actually see when you get on there? How are you able to engage with it? Is it fast? Is it slow? How easy is it to find something? Can I even figure out how to return something? If I'm getting something, what if it doesn't fit me? Right? Or what if I don't like it? What do I do then? How do I get about that information? Or even if it's great, what if I come on and it looks like the most spammy thing ever? Because anybody can make a website now, right? So how do I know that you're legit? How do I know that I'm not going to lose my credit card details? There's so many variables and nobody pays attention to that. It's just, okay, there might be something wrong with the creative, or we just got to adjust the targeting, or we need more traffic. No, because you're just going to burn more money. Don't do that. And the sad part is so many of these companies, they don't have insane budgets to burn, right? It's not humongous corps that are like running on $100 million, $2 million ad budgets. It's not going around that way. And every dollar that they spend is going down the drain because the people that are actually coming on, they're not converting. And even the ones that are coming on, they could be converting a lot more, but they're not because they haven't fixed that part. So it's just tragic because they don't spend the right time and effort on fixing that stuff. It's more like Yeah, but is that really something that's important? Yes, for your business. This is your bottom line that's getting affected, your profitability.
Exactly. Yeah. Because with online, especially the second people get to a website and it doesn't work for them, no matter how good the ad was, they're not going back. That's basically like some kind of,
Absolutely.
it's like you reach a paywall before you even decide what you want to buy. That's the
That's so
first impression.
right.
And if it's too spammy, I'm not going back.
Yeah. And if you get a pop-up too soon, you're like, I just got here. Why are you giving me a pop?
Yeah.
I haven't even seen anything. Okay, great, 10% off, but I don't even know 10% off on what. Do I even want it? No, you're
Yeah.
just gonna end up in my inbox. I don't want it yet.
And I think a lot of people have caught on to that as well, that the 10% off is just add me to your mailing list. Yeah. It can be so overwhelming. But you do talk about ethical conversion. What does that mean and why does it matter to the bottom line?
Okay, so for me, I think there's two parts of it. Ethical conversion, I think I focused on it a lot because I first came onto it as I was spending a lot of time as a customer myself, with studying different products, their UX, and how you look at these platforms today and how they play around with their, UIs to hide the different options or make it very difficult for you to be able to see the cancel option, or they'll make the cancel option less visible, or they'll put it in a way where actually it looks like you're canceling, but you're actually pressing the accept button because they've made it green. So because our mental models tell us that's like the cancel button, you just press it on it and that goes. And so it started frustrating me. So I started spending more time reading about it. And it's really frustrating because they spend so much time and research on researching our mental models and all the things that they built, the practices that they built in our heads over the years, and then flipped it to their advantage, right? And I think the reason that it works in a disadvantage to the company's bottom line is it may work in the moment, right? I may do it the first time, but this minute I do that, I'm going to realize that I clicked the wrong button. And the minute I do that, I'm going to feel tricked, right? And when I do that, I lose trust in you as a company. And I'm like, okay, now I feel cheated. So
Yeah.
initially, I may just have had a bad experience and you may still have been able to win me back, right? But I may have been able to complain, you may have been able to resolve it. A bad experience is still resolvable. If you straight up forcefully cheat me by the way you're building your experience and your UI, that's terrible. That's bad, right? And that tells me that you know that your system is so bad and you're refusing to fix it, that you feel the need to cheat me to keep me in the loop. So then I know that you're not offering enough value. And you think that I'm stupid enough to just kind of stay in here just because you kind of keep cheating me. And so now I'm gone. Now there's no way to retain me. You've lost your customer lifetime value. There's no way you're going to win me back. And every person that I do meet on my reviews, word of mouth, everywhere else, I'm just going to tell them this is a terrible platform, or this is a terrible service. This is a terrible product. Do not use it. So not only have you lost me as a user, you have lost everybody in my circle. You have lost everybody who will potentially read my review. And now, especially in the age of AI, where people are going to chat platforms for recommendations, more and more they're picking up recommendations from platforms like Reddit and Trustpilot. That's getting a lot of weightage. So if people give you bad reviews on those platforms, that has a humongous negative impact on your rating. It doesn't matter if you're trying to feed stuff and put on your website that you have great ratings, because those platforms recognize that these are the websites where actual humans are putting in what they consider their experience, their legitimate feedback. And so when they say that, okay, most people over here are saying this is a tricky platform or they cheat you, then you're now also going to lose any potential customers you could have gotten from here. And that's very troublesome because this is becoming almost the second highest source of new customers that are coming in. More and more platforms are finding that they're being recommended through these chat LLM platforms. So if you start getting recognized as a bad platform on these, then that's terrible, right? And just, it's so much better for you as a business to just fix the underlying issue than to trick your customers into these sort of bad loops. I remember there was a conversation I had at one of the workplaces where I was asking somebody about this tool. And I said, hey, there's this link that somebody is requesting where they want to figure out how to cancel a particular subscription that somebody's taken on. And they want to be able to like just directly point somebody to it. And they're like, oh, we've not created that link directly. And I was like, oh, why? They're like, so that there's a particular process that they need to follow. And I was like, oh, why is that? And they're like, they have to go through 6 steps to be able to cancel it. We don't want the cancellation process to be like something so simple that somebody immediately goes and cancels. It needs to be something that they really think through. And I understand the thinking through part. What I don't understand is, why are we not spending this much time? Why are we not spending those 5 steps thinking through how to fix our product that somebody does not need to unsubscribe in the first place? Why is that person not seeing enough value that they should not have to do it? And if they do feel the need to do it, I'm sorry, they're the ones spending the money. These dark patterns and this unethical way of doing it, this is something that I think is, a really bad practice and something that I think should not be the way to drive business. And I don't think it's sustainable.
That was such an important way to flip it, though. Because I either forget to cancel things because I just can't be bothered, or I get more annoyed as I'm going through those many steps.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I keep getting angry. I'm like, it's also not that deep. Sometimes it feels like it is.
Exactly.
But yeah, you could be spending so much more time asking them why they don't like it.
Yeah.
Or what was the issue, and working on that feedback. Yeah, that is really important.
And I'm like, what do I do? Do I just cancel my card and get like a new one issued? Is that the only way out of this now?
Yeah.
How many cards do I cancel?
And they're so hidden. Yeah.
It's frustrating.
You could be happily getting more customers and happier
Exactly.
customers, and
Yeah.
you're just tricking
The
them
ones
into
that
it otherwise.
actually want
Yeah.
to stay. It's annoying. It's really annoying.
It's so frustrating, but I love the way you flip that around. I'm glad somebody's implementing that.
I think for me, we have a very strict rule, like just no. If this is what you're going for, I'm sorry, we can't help.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
love
the
that.
people to pay.
that would keep you very aligned with the values and goals of your business as well.
Exactly. I think for us, we've literally put it everywhere that we exist. We're like, we don't do this. So if this is anything that you're looking for, don't even come talk to us. That's completely fine. We'll
Yeah.
let you know upfront.
Yeah, because you're also not tricking them
Yeah,
into anything.
exactly.
You're wasting nobody's time because it would be a waste
Yeah.
of your time. Yeah, I love that. Amazing way to have that set up. I love the way everything that we touched on, you answered everything perfectly. There's so much information from that one. I would like to thank Amara Ahmed for joining me on this episode of the podcast. I'm sure our listeners have taken away many lessons and insights from you. I also want to thank our listeners for supporting the podcast. You can find out more about Amara and her business at goprecision.co.
Thank you for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. Like this episode? Remember to subscribe and leave us a review. And join us in the Youngpreneur Society, a community for young entrepreneurs to explore the world of business. youngpreneursociety.com